All right. That is looking like it's supposed to. Our GoPro is unfortunately having problems. Can't really do anything about that right now. I've just got to talk to our hardware person. But, anyways, hello everybody, and welcome to Sports Breakdown. This is the second part from last week where we covered football. My name is Joshua Grant. I am one of the trainers at the Upper Valley Aquatic Center. So, a lot to talk about today. Let's get on with it. So, as I said earlier, we covered football because it's essentially football season has already started. So, I figured that would be appropriate to cover right now. So, in the videos that I watched, we had a lot going on. There's a lot of different positions that are played. Some of them require different types of skills and reactions. Some of them, basically, you just got to get up in the opponent's face and stop them from moving, or get up in their face and get them out of the way. So there's a lot of things that you can work when you're playing. But thankfully, a lot of those exercises that you would do to improve yourself in football are more or less in the same group of thinking. You want a lot of strength, you want a lot of power, you need a fair amount of speed and agility, coordination and balance, that whole globe of influence. So a lot of exercises can be built around those core concepts. If you're doing one position as opposed to the other, you'll probably more specialize in a certain thing. So I'm going to go over more or less the 2 or 3 groups that I've broken it down to on my post analysis. So first off, motions, big motions are going to be, the primary movement is pushing. That's going to be your primary movement that you're going to want to train. You're going to be pushing when you're throwing the ball. You're going to be pushing if you're getting somebody out of the way as a line. You're going to be pushing off of the ground to get yourself some speed. So pushing, I think, is going to be the main motion that you're going to want to exercise. As far as actual lifts that you're going to want to do, the way that football is that you're mostly using your entire body. You're never focusing just on arms. You're never focusing on just legs. If you had to work something, it definitely would be legs. You use those a lot more than your arms. You're using your core a lot just to keep yourself stable and to help you gain leverage to move people along. So since you're working all those things together, you would want to break apart your training days into, like a push and pull exercise, or you want to do like you want to separate legs. You could separate into core. You could do rotation as well. You're going to need to be doing a lot of that. You could also incorporate that into your workouts. The point is you want to separate what you're doing as you're going along. You're definitely going to want to do what I personally refer to as the 3 big lifts, which would be squats, that'd be deadlift, and that would be chest press. Those big 3, they definitely use them in football. I think they're a part of the combine, the official combine for the NFL too. So you definitely want to work those. Those are going to give you a ton of strength, and those are going to work out main parts of your body that you're going to be using consistently in the sport. So another thing that I have mentioned so far is power. Now, power is, at its very essence, is strength combined with speed. How much strength can you get in a burst of movement, and how fast can you do that movement? Combine these 2 together, you get power. Now, to actually train for power it's not, you basically train it the same way you train everything else. You do the lifts, you watch how much you're doing per lift, how many sets you're doing. You would want to be doing about, for power, you probably want to do in the, probably around the 10 to 15 rep range, probably around 70 to 85% of your maximum, maybe a little less. But the thing with power is the way you're thinking about the lift. It's not about just doing a lift slow and controlled. You want to do that pretty much all the time. You at least want control of your lift. If you're lifting for power, however, what you need to do is you need to train your muscles, the muscle fibers, into thinking that, okay, this is what we're doing, so I need to actually be able to explode when the brain demands it. So in this case, you. So that's what you need to be able to do. So the way you do that, it's definitely good to have somebody else watching you when you're doing this. For one, obviously safety if you're doing heavy lifts. The other thing would be to watch how you're doing the lift. So for example, got a handy just dumbbell right here. We'll say I'm doing a bicep curl just in my right arm. Normally, you want to do, slow, controlled, making sure you get proper range of motion. That's definitely all normal for when you're doing standard exercise, and it's something I highly recommend that you do. When you're doing power training, however, what you want to do is you want to be able to have enough weight, and you want to be able to have enough weight to be able to have resistance when you're coming up, but you also need to be able to explode when you come up. So as opposed to doing a standard bicep curl like so, what you would do instead, hopefully this can be seen. Just double check that can be. Okay, yeah. So instead of doing bicep curl like this, when you're going for power, you basically bring it up as hard as you can. Don't hit yourself in the face like I'm almost doing. You want to explode with as much power as possible. You need to train yourself to think, oh, I need to burst as I'm going up. This gets you'll need to fine tune it just a little bit, but you burst up, and that will eventually, you do it long enough and you do it consistently enough, your body will think, oh yeah, the brain is telling me I need to get muscle fibers in place that can handle this kind of bursting motion. That will be what you need to do mainly to improve your power. That's all it takes, really. It's just a small change in your mindset, and that'll get you exactly where you need to go, especially with power training. And you'd use power training for pretty much all the lifts. You'll probably include it in cycles, which is what we're going to be talking about next. But yes, power is going to be something you want to work out a lot if you're going for football training. Now, cycles, as I just mentioned, are going to be something that you're going to need to do, because you're not just going to play football for the season and then do nothing for the rest of the time. Your actual training would be built around the play season, so that when it's time to actually get out onto the field and get practicing, your body is ready to readapt to those motions and to be able to get the best amount of work done possible. So throughout the rest of the year and for the season itself, you're going to be doing cycles. You might have heard of these like macro cycles, micro cycles. You're essentially changing your training routine usually about every 4 to 12 weeks is about how long you want to cycle. That gives you the most amount of time to work in a cycle to get a fair amount of work done in that. And then you go on to the next one, you're basically keeping gains as you're going along. Cycles would be definitely broken up into a bunch of different things. That'll definitely change depending on what position you specialize in. That could be for a lot of things that would be ideal for football. Would be a hypertrophy phase or cycle, strength cycle, speed, power, and agility. You could do these things while you're doing another cycle. Like you could do hypertrophy and you could do some speed, or you could do some agility. You can work in things. During the cycle, you're focusing on that one aspect of your training. You break that up throughout the entire year. So when the play season actually comes and you're actually getting on the field, you're doing the drills, you're getting the coaching, and you're actually starting to play games, that when that actually starts, you definitely want to focus more on your power. The time before that, you're probably going to want to focus on the other aspects more, probably strength and speed, along with some hypertrophy. that's just so that you've got the base for what you're doing, and then your team, your coaches can bring you along and make those gains that you've made and turn them into skills so that you can use them more effectively on the field, if that makes sense. So definitely, as I said, way of thinking when you're doing the power exercises is going to be ideal. You'll probably want a power phase just so you can start training yourself during another time of the year. It's just so you get used to what's going on and what you need to do and what your body needs to do. The term is technically for building up and memorizing new muscle memory and patterns. It's a neural pathway. So doing that sort of training, especially for power on days throughout the year, as opposed to just when you're playing that all you do is football and then you ignore it for the rest of the year, that actually helps reinforce memory and to reinforce the muscles that you need to use in your body. So that's definitely going to help you be a better football player. So it's definitely the focus. As far as training for different positions, hopefully in my last video, if people have watched that, you'll know that I hopefully broke the myth of skilled positions. All the positions are skilled. There's no such thing as an unskilled position in football. It's complete bogus. You're certainly working for different things. A lineman, either offense or defense, is going to be working on definitely being able to use their mass and gaining mass in order to make it so they're more effective at holding the line, pushing through, or basically just being in the way of somebody else. So what a lineman will work on, typically more so, is going to be a lot more of the power, acceleration, strength. They need a lot of strength. You've seen some of those linemen and pretty much anywhere. Those guys are huge. They've got arms the size of tree trunks, legs that are bigger than a monster truck tire, things like that. They're going to benefit more from hypertrophy training, just to help them build up mass, build up that muscle. That helps them build up more strength. You obviously don't want to overdo it. That's going to be something that they're really going to benefit from. For most of the other positions, so receivers, runners, safeties, corners, linebackers. Linebackers are a little interesting, actually, but what the receivers and runners and those positions that are running are doing, they are going to want agility, so being able to start, stop, and then go in another direction immediately. They're going to that's going to be where they get their most benefit from. Because again, as I watched in the video, a lot of the times the receivers, when they go out for their route, they're not going to get the ball thrown to them unless they're doing really well. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be running up, hold, in some cases, depending on what route was called, they're going to run up as quick as they can, hold for maybe like a half a second, not even. They're going to hold, they're going to keep their legs pumping, they're going to keep the legs pumping so that they keep going, and then they're going to take off in another direction. For the defensive players, safeties, corners, all that stuff, what they're going to do, they're going to need to react to what's coming towards them. And if they react quickly enough, then they can potentially stop the play. Regardless, what they need is they need agility. They need to have a lot of agility. They need to have a fair amount of speed. So that's going to be something that the running and the receiving positions are going to get a lot of use out of. Any of the positions are also going to get benefit from the other. So a lineman's going to be able to do well with some agility training, just so that they can move more quickly and react more quickly. A receiver and runner will be doing really good if they get some hypertrophy. Gives them some mass, makes them harder to stop. Makes it so that they can more easily push through other people. So just the lineman would get better for more of a focus on hypertrophy and strength, as opposed to the receivers and runners. And the receivers and runners are going to get more from agility than the linemen would. So you definitely want to work both. That's just going to be what their focus is. Both of these classes of positions, both of these types of positions in football, and including the more specialized roles like a quarterback or like special teams, kicker, linebacker. So all of these are going to get a benefit out of imbalance training, or just techniques that you use to essentially make the load more unbalanced, more or less. So it could be something as simple as taking one of these bands that you might see at the gym sometimes when they're doing like a chest press or a squat or sometimes even a deadlift. Then you basically take a weight, you put it in that band while they're working out. It doesn't add on weight, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is that as you're doing something like a squat, for example, when you come down for that squat, the rubber band on that weight is going to move up and down and side to side. So you have to unconsciously adjust as you come down and as you come up. That's going to be working out all kinds of muscles going on through your legs. And it's also going to get you thinking nothing is going to be static as I'm going through. So I need to be prepared for when things are not static. Making use of these techniques a lot will be extremely helpful for somebody's performance. Especially since it works out the calf muscles. Calves are really hard to add on mass to. You're going to be using them a lot, so getting them trained is going to be great for football. Other techniques you could do is you could use, I don't think we have one in here, but a BOSU platform would be the one with the ball, the half ball, and the platform underneath it so that it can shift back and forth. Something like that would also work if you're doing it for a sort of lunge. So, let's see, can you see where I am? If I go back, kind of. So, if you have a chair, just to show you, you basically, the BOSU would be this chair in this scenario. If you're doing a lunge onto the platform, it's going to be unstable as you're putting your weight down on it. That's the point. So when you're coming down, you're again training yourself to say, oh, I need to, be able to move and adjust my weight and adjust the load carefully as I'm doing this. General things like that are going to be great. Great things for you to do when you're training. Because, again, they're going to make you a better player in the long run. Now, as we've been talking about the things that you'll need to train in order to be a more effective player, a couple things that you need to be very careful of when you're training. Overtraining would be the first thing. I've definitely heard of, in some cases that, people, will get horribly fatigued. They're doing 2 training sessions a day and they're just completely wiped out. Or they'll keep going. They're not showing improvement. They keep trying harder and harder. They're just constantly tired, but they think they just pushed through the wall. That's not a thing. Training 2 days or 2 times in one day you can do it. It's just something you need to be really careful of. Overtraining can very easily happen, especially for a sport like football, where there's so much that you have to do and so much that you have to work on. Imbalances are going to be another thing. So if you're constantly, I'm just going to keep working my strength. I'm not going to work anything other than my strength because that's all I need. I just need to be stronger. If you're doing that all the time, there's a very good chance that you can definitely, especially hurt your knees. If you're doing that for too long, especially since there's so much work done on the knees, it's going to be something you need to watch for. Listen to your body. If you're concerned, if you're training and you're concerned that your coaches or whatnot are pushing you too hard, please tell them. And if you have, a higher up that you can talk to and you think the coaches aren't listening to you, just please say something if you're in that situation. And again, imbalances. If you're hurting, tell someone. As just a short little anecdote. First season I played football, one practice right at the end of it, I sprained my wrist. And I didn't know I'd sprained my wrist because we were like 20 minutes before practice was over. We were having a lot of fun going through. And then, end of practice, we're in our gear, we go down, we do some push-ups. I was thinking, my wrist doesn't work. And parents come and pick me up. I was like, yeah, my wrist isn't working and it's starting to swell. Just the point of it is that don't be foolish. Listen to your body. If you get pain, like actual pain, your muscles just aren't fatigued, you're not out of breath, start getting pain pretty much anywhere, stop, let someone know, please get it looked at. You will do more harm than good if you just try to push through the pain. So yeah, overtraining and muscle imbalances. I didn't go much into muscle imbalances. Those are things that you really need to look out for when you're training for football. Another thing, especially during the play season, hydration, proper calorie intake. Hydration's a really, lots of people are, talk about it. It's thing you really need to be careful of is just, you start training in summer. It gets really hot, it gets really humid, pretty much almost no matter where you are, unless you're farther north or something. I'm not here to talk about that. Regardless, you are starting to it's very hot, you're in full gear, you're sweating like a pig, you're wearing, just all this equipment you have to wear is very stifling. It can very easily lead to heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Keep yourself hydrated as you're working out. Make sure, again, you're listening to your body. If your body starts to shut down and say, stop exercising, stop, take a breather, get into the shade. If you pass out, there's definitely a lot of things that you need to be careful of. The coaching and whatnot should be aware of proper safety techniques, especially for heat stroke, heat exhaustion, the things they need to do. If you're concerned about that, please ask them. Now, proper calorie intake. You are going to be burning a ton of energy by doing all this exercise. For standard football game, even if you're not playing all the time, you're still out there, you're still walking around, you get to play some, you're still burning a lot of energy just by moving around. And during training, forget about it. You're going to be sore for days afterwards. So you need to make sure that you're not only eating enough, that you're eating the right things. Don't just go out and eat 3 pizzas just because you're hungry. I haven't eaten 3 pizzas. I've eaten whole pizzas. Not a good idea. What you really want is going to be carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the main source of fuel in your body. Get complex ones. So whole wheat bread, just basically, whole wheat bread. Oatmeal is another great complex carbohydrate. Potatoes, as long as you're not like deep frying potatoes, French fries, and then they're just smothered in salt and chili and all sorts of stuff. Potatoes can be a good complex carbohydrate, especially if you get sweet potatoes. Those are better. Essentially, you need to have enough carbohydrates and enough complex carbohydrates so that your body can break it down over the course of the day and that they'll be able to make use of them. Especially since hypertrophy is so important, you want protein. Again, you want good sources of protein. You can find really good protein powders. If you're using a protein powder, definitely don't get the ones that have tons of sweeteners and sugars and cholesterol. You can find some really tasty plant-based proteins. Those are, again, really good for you. The point is you need protein because protein acts as the building blocks of your body. Pretty much everything is comprised of proteins in your body, and especially, your muscles. So get good amounts of protein and, get healthy proteins. You can have red meat. That's a bit of a misconception. It's not as lean of a protein. It's still okay. It's still good. It's all right to have. Don't solely eat red meat, but you can have some. So again, you want good carbohydrates, you want good proteins, and hopefully I've covered what exactly those mean. Last thing, the main macronutrient is going to be fat. Now, fats are we have carbohydrates, which is energy. We have protein, which is building blocks. Think of fats kind of like oil for a car or lubricant of some sort. You need them for essential bodily systems. You use them to cushion your cells. You use them to regulate your body temperature. You need to have fats in your diet. They're very calorie dense. You get the right fats though. So like peanut butter, avocado, basically any oil that is liquid at room temperature is more or less a good fat. So that's going to be you want to get those into your body as well. You probably will need a bit extra. Actually, probably not. So yeah, you just want to get good fats. You want good proteins. You want good carbohydrates. You want enough of them so that your body can effectively make use of them and effectively make use of it so that you can get through the training without starving yourself. So another thing that I feel like I should mention is drinks like Powerade, Gatorade, sports drinks like that. And in day-to-day life, there are actually few situations where you want to actually use those drinks. This is actually football training, especially training, is one of those situations. Those drinks are full of electrolytes, which are actually things that allow your body to process water more effectively, along with a bunch of other stuff. So it has those things. You lose those with sweating. And if you're working extremely hard, your body's using a lot of things. They also have, usually they have a fair amount of sugar in them. Most of the time, again, you hear, don't eat sugar, don't eat sugar. This is one of the situations where it can be helpful. Sugar is, think of it as nitrous for your body. Your body can, once you get sugar into you, your body can use it immediately. Which is why if you don't use it, you get it, you start feeling up, then you start feeling down. That's a sugar crash. Your body wasn't able to use the energy immediately, so it's got to store it somehow. Those sports drinks can be used to a great effect if you're using them during the training season, and if it's a really hot day, you're sweating a lot, you need to get some energy in you. So that's the time to use those. Don't just drink them, if you're just sitting on the couch or if you're just driving around, you're not doing anything strenuous. Use those drinks at those times when you need something. That's what they're designed for. That's what they'll actually function as. Other than that, though, definitely stay hydrated, though. A trick you can do is just if you don't want to drink those drinks for whatever reason, or if you want to make sure that you stay hydrated, is to add a little bit of extra salt to your food. You can also add a little bit of salt to your water. Just salt helps retain water in your body. So you want a little bit of that just to make sure that you're getting that water content. So that when you sweat it out, it won't dehydrate you. You'll still be good to go. Okay, we've hit my time. I hope this was really informative. I definitely love being able to do this, being able to talk about what I've learned. So if you have anything that you personally want to see, please reach out through any way you can. All of the trainers' contact info is on the Upper Valley Aquatic Center's website, uvac.org, uvac.org. What do we have coming up next? Later today, we have Hannah. She's going to be doing ABCs, arms, butt, and core. She's also going to be doing a how-to session. Basically, she covers one particular exercise for that segment, so you can learn how to do that. Tomorrow, we also have Fitzy Friday, where Sean Fitzgerald will be talking about different trends and questions you might have about the fitness industry. Also, on Monday, Sean's also doing Mobility Mondays, exercise to work on mobility. Alan is going to be doing Rock Solid as well. I'm pretty sure that's a core program, if I am incorrect. No, I was wrong. Rock Solid is basically uses HIIT training, high intensity interval training. It's going to be intense cardio and strength training. It's going to be hard. It's a very challenging class, but I very much recommend it if you've got the chance. If you've got the time, you want to try to challenge yourself, absolutely head into Rock Solid. But anyway, I've been Joshua Grant with Upper Valley Aquatic Center, and I hope you all have a fantastic day and that you learned something. Thank you, and I will see you next week.